Hello everyone. So this week I'm going to do a details part 2, some more things you can do to add details to your edits and or whatever you are doing. You could really use this method for anything you do. But let's go ahead and get started. I just have a stock image here. I'm trying to do things a little differently. So let me just get a solid. We'll just follow this color here. Sure, that works. Um, all right, so I guess we can start by just adding some text. I'll just call it what I'm going to call the tutorial. Details. Volume 2. Okay, cool. Let me just see. Let me just center everything just to make everything more aligned. Cool. So I don't know if we'll be focusing too much on details for text and stuff, but I can show you a few things that you can add to surround the text in your subject or whatever you're trying to create details for. So the first thing I would do, I guess what's kind of speaking to me right now is kind of like a Venetian blinds line. So to do that, we'll just add one of these, get some Venetian blinds. Maybe make the width a little bit higher and then just tilt it a bit. Cool. So I'm going to pre-compose that because we want to move it. So after I pre-compose that, I'm going to scale it up and then offset the position. Let me just trim this composition down just so it's not going on for too long. So we'll do something like that. Cool. So one thing I'm going to recommend you guys start doing more is to use mats. This just helps you customize it a little bit more, and it doesn't really finalize things like masks do. I know you can delete masks, but I've been using mats a lot more lately. So we're going to create our rectangle with the shape tool. It doesn't matter what color it is because it's going to be a matte. So we'll take this white solid here that has the Venetian blinds on it. Go to track matte if you don't see it. Go to toggle switches and it should pop up. And we'll do an alpha matte. So it's a little too big for me. So I'm going to go into here and just make these a little bit closer together. And maybe tilt it a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Then you get something like that. And then you can duplicate these two layers and end up making the shape different. You can turn this into like a square like this, put it under. And I apologize if you hear any dogs barking. I do live in a house with 5 dogs, so I apologize. So if you don't want these to be the same animation process, this is why we pre-composed. You can use the stretch thing here. If you don't have it on your bar, just right click on this bar here where you see layer name, mode, tmat, go to columns and add stretch. This will speed it up or slow it down depending on what route you want to take. So this just offsets it a bit just so it's not going the same speed. Okay, so I think we're done with that detail that you could add to your edits. So I'm just going to scale it down and put it to the side. Alright, so the next thing we could do like a little bit of a 3D element. You will need Video Copilot element for this. I don't know how to use the program or the plugin too much. Like I know how to do a few things, and I guess I'll show you that right now. This just adds a little bit more of depth to your details. Let me figure out how to spell element first. And I find this works best on a solid layer. Okay, we'll go to scene setup. And if you do have element, it should come with the starter pack. If not, you could just create a circle here and click on the scene materials and kind of decide what you want everything to look like. I know one cool thing I did was the wireframe. I did this in Be Kind, and it just gives this kind of like wireframe futuristic look. So we'll go ahead and use that. Now this is where people might get a little bit mixed up with element. What you would use to animate it or position it is the world transform. So I'll just kind of put this somewhere, and we'll just put this somewhere and kind of move it down. This just creates like a cool little something to add to your edits. It doesn't add too much, but it adds this little 3D element. And use world rotation to kind of make sure people are sure that it is 3D. Okay, so next we can try some line art, I guess if you want to call it that. What I'm first going to do is just create a straight line like this. I'm going to make sure it's on the stroke layer, or stroke property, whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to add a repeater. I'm going to position everything like so, make the y-axis 0. I mean, so this alone could be cool for detail, but I kind of want to show you a different thing. Oh, maybe not that. So playing around with the rotation and stuff like that after you align it is something that will create, let me try to reset that, something that will create a cool shape like this. I don't know what style that would exactly fit, but you could do something like that. But what I wanted to do was more of like a mesh warp thing, so we'll go ahead and, oops, I'm just going to turn that off. We'll go ahead and move this up. We'll just turn the details text off for now. And we can pre-compose this if you want. You might be able to do it without pre-composing, but I'm just gonna, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm gonna set up my mesh warp like this and just kind of like move the middle. I might add actually 4 rows. Excuse me. I'm gonna actually add 4 rows, and that'll allow me to create something a little more dynamic. This honestly just creates a funky pattern that you can put in your backgrounds. So you get something like that. So now that I have a few details in, I think I know kind of the route I want to go with this. This kind of just is starting to create a style almost. But one thing I do want to do is animate the position here, just so we get some movement in. Oops. Get some movement like that. That's going way too fast, so I'm going to trim that down. Yeah, something like that. So next I'm going to start duplicating these squares. Let me try and get the anchor point in the middle over here. I'm going to just make this one smaller. Just put it over here. Just kind of start putting stuff where there's empty space is my best. Advice. We're going to animate the position. Have it start over here. So it's kind of like tumbling. And then perhaps we'll move this square as well. So that's gonna be a huge tip. If you do add details, having them move a little bit, or however much you want it to move, having it move is going to help a lot. By making your edit a little more exciting. You can get away with just like putting a few details down and then just leaving it there and then animating the text, but I find that if you add something, you should probably make it move or animate somewhat. Okay, so again, I love lines and stuff like that. So lines like these and whatnot could always, maybe not that line, but it could always add a little more pop to it. Let's see how the 3D thingy looks. I'm not loving it, but it is a good detail you can add to other edits, so I won't completely knock it. But I don't want to see it, so I will be taking it off. So yeah, that's a few more details you can do. Let's see if we can do anything with this text here. So you do see how it is kind of clashing with this text here. What you could do to make sure it doesn't clash with your text is make a map. So let's find our layer. I should have named these layers. That's another thing you should do. Name your layers. This one. Okay. Then we're gonna create a little bit of a. Oop, not that. And create a matte box. Make it a fill layer. And invert it. So now you have your text visible. And if you don't like that there's hard edges, you can always add fast box blur to feather it. You can always scale it up if you need to, but I like the hard edges. Okay, so that shows you a few more details you can add to your edits. I'm sure there's a lot more details that you guys can do and that I can teach you. I just really like how this style looks. I'm trying to cut down a little bit on details. I guess there's always room for pluses. But I'm trying to cut down on details a little bit because I see a few people's stuff is getting a little crowded and stuff like that, and I just want to make sure that you guys know that sometimes just like a good concept will take you a long way with your edits. I don't know if you noticed, but usually some of the most popular edits on YouTube, they usually don't have a lot of detail and a lot of flashing. You just got to make sure you give people time to take in what you've done. So if you do add a lot of detail, make sure it goes on for about 1 second or longer. Probably two, but like 1 second is fine. Because we usually do it for like a point second when we do a lot of detail. So that's just doing a bunch of work for no reason. Because nobody's going to see it unless you're an editor and you like to pause and see the details. So that's just something to keep in mind to kind of wrap up this tutorial. If you guys like these tutorials, I'll do more of them. You guys seem to like the first one a lot, so perhaps I'll think of some more things you guys can do with your edits. Alright, thanks guys.